This is What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Eta, welcome to another episode of Wow What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks. Botsang Modimowame Moiloa is in the building. I, Tato, djfreshsa is also in the building. But most importantly, you've joined us for another dose of PoliTricks. Botsang.
Good morning, Tato.
Are you good?
I'm good, my brother. I like it when you say your name in full.
It's good you have your spectacles back. Because people are complaining that you look like a mole.
Yeah, and I responded. I just forgot the guy's name. I actually should have looked at it this morning to say I lost my one lens because of you. But yeah, it was a struggle last week, bro.
Speaking of a struggle, some people are feeling that the next 4 years are going to be a struggle at a global level because of President Donald Trump. Donald Trump is back. And the first thing he did as soon as he took office was sign quite a few decrees.
Yeah, almost 7 of them.
No, what do you mean for 7? He pardoned 1,500 January 6 rioters. He proposes to terminate recognition of automatic birthright citizenship. He's withdrawn from the WHO.
Yes.
He's revoked a 2023 executive order signed by Joe Biden that sought to reduce the risks that artificial intelligence poses to consumers, workers, and national security. He shut down the CBP-1 that denies nearly 1 million immigrants access to the U.S. He revoked protections for transgender troops set by Joe Biden. So if you're transgender and you're in the army, you are on your own. The USA will only recognize 2 genders, male and female, requires federal workers to return to full-time in-person work. This thing of logging in, but you're not at the office,
it's not.
It must stop now.
The businessmen want people to be in the office.
Which makes sense, though. Like, come on, guys. COVID is gone. Come to work.
Fresh, but we learned from COVID. I've got a different view.
Yeah.
We learned something from COVID that you don't have to be in the office.
But how do we measure your productivity? For instance, if we can't measure your productivity, if there's no way of measuring your productivity, you must come to work.
It depends on the nature of the work.
Anyway, he withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement. He signed executive orders designed to spur American energy production, which is already at a record level. So now there'll be more oil, there'll be more coal. He delayed the TikTok ban for 75 days, and he declared he'll rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
The man means business. Look
What are your views on...
Let's welcome back President Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
You mentioned quite a number of things.
Yeah.
He's got about 5 or 6 first times as well. He's the first American president who was in power and came back to power.
Sure.
He was the first American president who's he is occupying office while he's a convicted felon.
Oh yes, there's that also. Yeah.
And he's busy appointing immigrants to America into key cabinet positions.
Yeah.
I mean, America is one of the most polluted and polluting countries on earth. They pollute earth. And he goes and withdraws from this treaty or this agreement.
The Paris Agreement, yes.
Yes, you understand, the Paris Agreement. And these are the countries, USA in the lead of that. It's been countries that have been putting pressure on the so-called developing states, South Africa being one of them, to reduce their carbon emissions. Yet now they go and they withdraw from that whole. But wrong or right, President Trump is demonstrating that he's putting America first. He doesn't care about anything else outside. I'll come to what about the things that are going to impact the Americans.
Sure.
But he's also demonstrating that he's a decision maker. He's very decisive.
Yeah.
And I've always maintained a position that good leaders are very decisive and they take responsibility of their decisions.
Whether it's a good or bad decision, it doesn't matter.
Make a decision and let us move forward.
Exactly. You don't over-consult and then you say there's a new act
and it's
or
only
a new
4 years
bill,
in America.
but we'll suspend a clause, and now the AfriForum are taking you to court.
You see, things like that. Yeah, he's not wasting time. He knows he is actually implementing and the promises of the election campaign.
Absolutely.
And for that, we must congratulate him. Whether the Americans are happy or he is right or the decisions are right, it's not an issue now. If the Americans put Donald J. Trump in that position to be with the clean sheet he brought in front of them, it means they are agreeing, the majority of them are agreeing with what he put in front of them during the elections.
Because I've been hearing people up in arms saying that he's not the most democratic guy. It's ironic that he wants to implement certain things that are not necessarily democratic. My argument is this. If more than half of your people are saying, we subscribe to your brand of democracy,
Yes.
we subscribe to what you stand for, then it's for him to deliver exactly what he said he would deliver.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The man is rolling out the promises of the elections.
Whether how he chooses to do it is democratic or not, we can debate it on another day.
It's another level. But look at the one that shocked me. It didn't shock me because he has been talking about it, the gender, the same-sex marriages and gays and lesbians, LGBTIs and all that.
Sure.
It didn't surprise because he has been talking about it. Why is the world surprised that it was one of the first things he signed off? Where he's going to get a backlash is, I was laughing about it. Inside the Republicans, most probably inside his funders and his cabinet, he's going to find people who fall within the LGBTI groups.
Sure.
And for that, he may get very serious challenges with American human rights organizations. Already, I've learned last night, there are over 50 legal applications.
Yeah.
Already in less than 24 hours. Trump is already, there are cases that are being filed in court, over 50 of them,
and some
to challenge him.
And some he will lose because he shoots from the hip. He often doesn't think, I don't believe. And to a certain extent, sometimes operates from a childish point of view. That because Botsang doesn't do this, why should I do it?
Why should I? Yeah,
because China doesn't pay X amount to the WHO, why should
I pay it? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's got a petulance, a childishness about him at a certain level. So he'll lose some of these in court.
That's common cause, Fresh. He will.
And for instance, the gender issue. I've got an issue with his how, because his how will embolden people who are gay bashers to feel they can go out there and endanger people. But what I agree with him about is the fact that you can't have a former man feel he should be allowed to compete with women on the sporting field, for instance. So if I'm a former man, whether I'm transitioning or I'm fully transitioned, the level of my strength will still be more than any woman.
Any woman, yeah.
And I think it's ludicrous that we should now say, because Botsang identifies as a woman, he should be allowed to compete with women. It's rubbish.
But when they created those laws, and I'm talking about the Americans, not Trump, who's reversing it. When they created those laws and they passed them, they went through the Senate, and what were they thinking? Didn't they apply their mind that, but wait, we are challenging biology and nature here. How are we going to balance this thing? Because it becomes unjust for the so-called straight people as well. You are creating or trying to create a fair situation, but you become unfair to the so-called straight people.
So, for instance, how you choose to identify or how you identify should not infringe upon any single right of mine. Yeah. So because you identify as, so let's say, because they've also now allowed children to choose what they identify as, which for me is problematic. So if your 13-year-old son identifies as a girl, I should be fine with your 13-year-old son using the same toilet as my 12-year-old daughter. And I must be fine with that.
Human rights, children's rights, rights that are loose and there's no control over rights. And that's where we are. I see South Africa going towards that direction in future. Maybe not now, maybe not in the next 5 years, but we are going to be sitting with that problem in future if we do not manage and control this now. I like what you are saying, Tato. You are saying if a person feels like that in their private capacity and they don't infringe on other people's space, it's okay.
By all means, do it. But don't let how you identify make me feel uncomfortable in public. Like now all of a sudden we're sharing a toilet. Like now all of a sudden you're a man. I can see you're a man. You've got an Adam's apple.
Yeah.
You want to compete with my daughter. Yeah, and I must be fine with that.
And you want to sit down in the toilet while the daughter has to use the seat as well. But it's not only that. We go back to politics and to look at one of the things that Trump had done, which I think his message sent shocking waves to South Africa. I don't know if you saw, in reaction to Donald Trump's threats.
Sure.
regarding trade with BRICS support, the dollarization process. South Africa responded through Deputy President Mashatile. And I think, Fresh, it's very embarrassing, actually. It shows that we've got leaders in the country who are not principled.
Sure.
Understand? Because Ndate Mashatile stands up, the Deputy President, and says South Africa has never taken a position on the BRICS
the currency. Yeah, but remember we discussed it the last time that we were very quick to stand up and say, we never did that.
But also his motivation and explanation was America is #1 trading partner of South Africa, and they use the dollar. But I think people are missing their point, including Donald Trump.
Sure.
Why would the USA force a country or demand that a country like South Africa trade with, for example, Russia or China or India or even Zimbabwe in a dollar?
Absolutely.
You understand? And that's where the challenge is. To say...
It goes back to the petulance I talk about, that he's a man-child at a certain level.
Yes.
That he wants things his way or all of you will pay. He's got this you're with me or you're against me attitude.
The question is, where does the USA fit in South Africa trading with its other trade partners?
And why is it their business?
Why is it their business? Why would Deputy President Mashatile stands up and say we have to be very careful? South African economy, in his words, quote, South African economy is a dollar-based economy.
Maybe because he understands the child we're dealing with.
At whose expense? We are on the brink of losing good relations and markets in the Asia, which are growing markets. If we trade, and I don't say South Africa must recklessly ditch dealing with the USA, that's not what I'm saying.
Sure.
But I'm saying if we can take whatever we are taking to the Americans, to the Chinese, we'll benefit 3 times. So why are we afraid?
Until the Chinese can give us access to their markets the way the Americans have, you still have to tread carefully. Until the BRICS region, all of it, can give as much trade as the Americans do or
then
access to their markets.
Direction.
Until then, you have to be careful how you trade.
Why would Trump and the US have a problem in South Africa dealing with the BRICS member states, mainly Asia at the moment, or Southeast Asia and the Arab world?
Because we're a club.
Okay, but
why should he care? Because we're a club.
Yeah, but why? And they don't care when South Africa is dealing with the UK and the EU. In their euro. So Trump has no problem when we deal with EU in euros or the UK in their pound.
Sure.
You understand? They don't have a problem with that. But they have a problem in us trying to create a relationship financially to can deal with other partners. It's that whole, we are caught up in that whole, Cold War battle of the East and the West.
Absolutely.
And as a country, I think we should treat very carefully. America must not hold us hostage for growing. It's like when you work and you try to move jobs from one employer to another.
No, they want to hold it against you.
They want to hold it against you as if you don't want to, even if you don't grow profitably or you're not going to get more salary, maybe you want change.
They feel like they own you.
Exactly. And I think the Americans, through Donald Trump, they feel like they own Africa still.
But to also give you an idea of the child we're dealing with here, he even thought the S in BRICS is Spain.
Yeah.
Like to show you the level of how red or unread he is, or how much he actually cares about anything else. He has no clue.
But where are the advisors in this instance? Where are the advisors? Because you can't have a president.
The one advisor is busy there doing Nazi salutes.
And he's supposed to. What is he? He's going to be in the cabinet or in the office of the president to take charge of
efficiency.
By the way, we're talking about Elon Musk, the Pretoria boy.
Sure.
Efficiency, and so he's actually like our minister of. What do they call it in the president? That means for monitoring and evaluation.
Sure.
To check that all others are delivering and performing from Pretoria to Washington. Anyway, but look at the South African influence in American politics at the moment under this current administration. You had, the old guy, Mark Shuttleworth.
Sure.
And now it's Elon Musk. You can see fresh how American politics are run by money. It is the guys with the money, and they're divided between the Republicans and the Democrats, the Rockefellers as well as the Rothschilds. You understand? And that's how it is. It's about money, nothing else.
Yeah, but that's the one thing Biden, in one of his farewell speeches, I mean, he said we need to guard against the new oligarchs, as he called them.
Yes.
That there's this bunch of billionaires In fact, if you took that bunch of billionaires, that one big trillionaire,
Yeah.
if you will, and he spoke about the fact that that is where the world is going, and that if we are not careful, that bunch of oligarchs, as he called them, are going to influence things that are not necessarily in your interest, but are in their business interest.
But I don't know why did former President Joe Biden wake up to that. That's always been the case. Even the Democrats, his own party, has been funded by the other side of this oligarchs, big businesses. And why would he come and worry about it now when Trump has actually rallied more than they could? That's what Trump
Because
did.
he knows the shallowness of Trump and the fact that Trump is about Trump. Trump is about how can I benefit? How can my family benefit?
My brother, President Trump, is in the office, is in the White House. The world can scream and tumble and do whatever. The Americans have spoken through the vote.
Yeah.
And the man, in first hours after being inaugurated and sworn in, he started signing those documents in front of the patricia. I'm implementing this. If they don't want Trump, they've got courts to go and remove Trump, or they can go on the referendum and remove him out of power. But for now, they are stuck with him. And for me, and look, it's going to be very challenging. It's going to be very interesting for the world.
Sure.
It's going to be very challenging for Africa and AGOA. He again once more, mentioned how useless African leaders are. We expected that. So it's okay. Let's see how it moves forward. But Americans are going to be faced with one of their biggest challenges in the history of that country.
There's a saying, F around and find out. They've done the effing around, now they're about to find out.
I was thinking what happened with the Americans.
Yeah.
When they brought Obama in, they realized after that, we didn't need this black person. Of African origin and Muslim and what. Then they replaced him with Trump out of bitterness and anger and wanting to bring, a white, racist, typical American in. Then they realized they effed up.
I think it was more.
Then they brought Biden, who was old and useless in my books.
I think it was more anyone but Hillary than it was let's punish Obama.
Yes. Anybody, exactly, but Hillary was very close with Obama. Remember, they've got that title. But again, keep this one out, but let's correct this thing. And they failed twice now. There are two opportunities to put women in a power position, and they've dismally failed. So it's up to them. That's what I always say with democracy. When it punishes the people, when it reveals its, hidden factors of this so-called democracy,
Sure.
and people start crying. Americans are already crying as if they didn't go on the polls, as if the majority of them didn't put this gentleman in power. I listened. Yesterday, he went to church, and one of the Roman Catholic priests, or whatever, they were praying for him. And in the prayer, they were saying, please pardon or bear with immigrants, because they were worried about immigrants,
Sure.
as well as LGBTIs. The church president said, for that one, Mr. President,
Be
please
kind.
Be kind to those ones.
The funny thing is, a journalist asked Donald Trump what he thought about the priest asking him to be kind
Yes.
to the alphabet gang. And Trump was very quick to what did you think of what they said? he deflected very, very fast.
And one interesting thing for me is about the borders, as well as the immigrants.
Sure.
Look, immigration problems are all over the world. There's that challenge, whether it's Germany to the Turkish, right now it's South Africa with the neighboring countries, as well as some African countries. This thing of illegal immigration, it's very big. I don't know why would people make noise towards Donald Trump. Maybe it's the way he wants to do it, or he threatens to do it.
It's always his how that he has no tact.
But immigration is a problem globally. The countries that are being seen as the land of honey and milk, they will forever be troubled with illegal immigrants. And guys, I'm not going to sit on any platform or chair and support, no matter the reason, and support anything that is done illegally.
And you can't blame people who say we do not want illegal immigrants in our country.
Exactly, you cannot.
Like in which world of madness would anyone say, yeah, illegal immigrants must come here, you're welcome? I mean, it's bad enough in a lot of prisons in South Africa.
Yes.
Majority of the inmates
Are foreigners.
are foreigners.
Yeah, I saw the portfolio committee was surprised during the course of this week. And I'm like, but how are they surprised?
There's a prison, for instance, that holds 500 people. 400 of them
Are foreigners?
Are foreigners.
Yes. But Fresh, why are they?
And then when people turn around and say we don't want illegal foreigners because a lot of our crime problems are because of them, then you're called xenophobic.
Yeah. There's no xenophobia.
And that's the one thing a lot of people love about Trump. That Trump has actually said, we have been too woke for our own good. And because we've become a woke world, you can't even call out bullshit without being labeled something.
In South Africa,
that you're being
NGOs.
hateful, that you're anti-LGBTQI, that you're xenophobic. And often you're just calling it out as you see it.
One thing that I observed with that calling of anti-LGBTIs and what President Museveni, I wanted to see how the media, especially in South Africa, was going to respond. When President Museveni of Uganda did exactly what Donald Trump did.
No, but Museveni has criminalized it.
Yes.
People might get killed. It's a different story. We can't compare.
You know what's risky in the U.S. now? There's something that you said in passing earlier on. The risky part in the U.S. is those right-wingers and so-called straight people who are hardliners. They may start attacking whether psychological or emotional or even physically.
But they will, because he's emboldened them.
Yes,
he will.
Even physically, to say we are going to correct the things that we saw happening in the townships in the yesteryears. And that's the danger part of it, to say it's reckless for a president to pronounce this thing this way. You know, there's words you can use that in American official papers you must use sex, male or female, not gender. And I said, I don't know, what's the difference, Mr. President? Gender and sex. I actually find it more comfortable to use the word gender. And it's still male or female.
Because of sex, maybe.
No, I guess it's sex, but that's something else. Gender, it's better. You see, I'm a typical South African. I'm a modest person.
Sure. I think you see the issue many would have with Trump is because of his lack of tact. That hana tact, hana ho. He often emboldens the hardliners, the racists, the gay phobes, the supremacists. He would never call out any of those people. He would rather say something that calls out everyone equally. There was a time, I think, at one of the universities where a whole group of right-wing extremists attacked black people. And the black people fought back. And when Trump was asked about it, he's like, yeah, they're all wrong.
He didn't care who started.
He was not willing to call out the people that started that confrontation because he understands that's my constituency. I can't call out my people.
Hey, you're going to make me drink more coffee. I never asked for extra coffee on set, and our guy is out there. But anyway, let's continue. Trump is making me drink a lot of caffeine today.
You know what I find also funny? And someone raised this on Talk Radio 702, that even from this country, a lot of the Trump fans almost gloss over the way he is probably the most nepotistic president on the planet. His family are there in the White House. But any other leader try to do that, it's like, nepotism, corruption, you're bringing your own people. How dare you? Can you imagine if President Ramaphosa decided he's going to bring one of his kids to work in his office?
Fresh.
We'd be up in arms.
Our politics are not on the same level. We haven't arrived at that stage. But also the problem with us, should we go there? Should we go there? Remember, we are also a country that is infested with real nepotism, corruption, maladministration, and all those things.
And you think America isn't?
No, it is. But I think they are managing it, or they've done it better. It's an old country. We are a new so-called democracy. And I say, look, there's corruption and nepotism all over. I can have my son, I can be the head of state, have my son not to work for government, but get all government contracts.
Exactly.
It's happening in South Africa. You can do it differently. Just don't put it on the face of the people and slap them on their face. And so with Trump, he's putting it there. But again, I've said the American people wanted Mr. President Donald J. Trump, and they have him.
Exactly.
And for me, give the people what they want. If in democracy, if they don't want Trump anymore, America is said to be a leading democracy, they will remove him out of power. They can go on referendum. They can take him to court.
It's not going to happen. He's going to serve his 4 years.
Yes.
And in those 4 years, we will all find out.
We will all
find out.
feel it. Won't just we will feel it.
Exactly.
We have already seen President Mashatile shaking when he's giving his statement in the first 24 hours. So we will all feel it. We are going to feel the presence of Donald Trump. I'm one of his fans. I've always said he's a better devil in that office. And I've explained before that, one, his relationship with Putin may bring more peace in the world, more relations, a personal relationship. Remember, one of his charges of the previous cases was that he sold information to the Russians, or he was influenced by the Russians during his first time. So there's a very good relationship between President Putin and President Trump. And President Xi Jinping has been facilitating the current engagement. There's been engagements now over the phone. I've learned during the course of this week that Xi Jinping was 1.5 hours on the phone with President Putin, talking about how they should approach President Trump. For me, that's what matters in geopolitics.
Sure.
If it brings peace, if it will stop the war in Ukraine, like he had given orders to Benjamin Netanyahu with Israel, a day before he was inaugurated, to say, nonsense, let this and stop. Yes, there's a warning to Hamas as well. But again, we must also look at the positive things he's implementing. I want peace in the world and free trade amongst the countries. If America wants to use their superpower and dollar to dominate Africa, it is for how Africa is going to respond to that. It is not about the Americans not to do what they want to do, to dominate and to use the dollar to dominate the world. They are doing what they want. We must respond, or have the ability to respond to the dominance of America in the world economy and all that. It's up to how our leaders are going to respond to that.
Absolutely.
And we have seen Captain Traore in Burkina Faso responding to France when France was threatening them, responding to the IMF and the World Bank by paying their debts with the gold reserves. Paying their debt and say, I don't want your money anymore, I'll do things my way.
Absolutely.
So there's a kind of leadership we want in Africa, a leadership that will respond to the imperialists and the Western world, including the Eastern world, for the best interest of the African people.
Unfortunately, leaders like that get taken out. So I'm hoping that his security is very tight. I'm hoping he trusts everyone around him.
I don't trust more people around him.
And I hope that he's got a food taster. So that even his food is safe. Because leaders like that, who are very resolute, who give a middle finger to former colonizers, get taken out.
But you are so mean. So the food taster must die.
It's your job, Mus. We'll look after your family.
I was telling somebody, President Putin he carries his own bottle of water. He doesn't even take water from the table and all. That's how paranoid he is.
He's not paranoid. He knows there's always someone to take you out.
And that person is not going to come from outside. Let's have 10, 15 more Captain Traores in Africa. I'll migrate
then it's a good
this
start.
country.
Then it's a good start. Absolutely. Let's move back home.
Yes, sir.
The other day, Secretary General of the ANC, Mbax, announced that ANC structures in KZN and Gauteng would be reconfigured as a result of the election result. And I remember we discussed it the other day about the fact that it doesn't matter who was in charge of the structures in Gauteng or KZN, as long as there was an MK party, it was a foregone conclusion.
They will eat from them.
There's no way anyone could have saved the result. There's no way.
First, I don't know. You know what I think? I think the ANC leadership, because this came from the NEC, then it was downscaled to the NWC, National Working Committee of 20 people who decided on this. And they've done their homework and desktop and consultant. But I don't think they think outside the box and as broadly as you say it, to say, guys, whoever was in Gauteng, and I think actually under TK Ngiza and Panyaza Lusufi, they had the best they had at that time. It could have anyway happened. I think the ANC does not want to accept that. But I've also said before, I think they are also unfair to can point at the two provinces there. And they didn't only lose two provinces, even others. These are the most populous ones. by the way.
And-
They
and-
lost the Northern Cape.
And why was Cape Town not structured 2 elections ago then?
Exactly.
Because the Western Cape they've been taking L's in the Western Cape.
Exactly. They forever. Now, also, what about the what do you call it? What about the national leadership that lost, almost 17% of the electorate? But I think there's more political dynamics to be played into this.
I was going to say, do you think it's bigger than just these 2 structures?
I think it's bigger than that.
Because many are even implying that it might be linked to certain attitudes towards the GNU.
I think it's more the attitude towards the GNU. The GNU in KZN, it's on fragile points, you understand? Because remember, it's sitting with 1 seat that is held by the National, what do you call that party? National Freedom, Trevor, the KZN political party, the National Freedom, the late ladies party, the Inkatha Breakaway, NPF, the NPF. I remember the NFP, yes. Thanks, Trevor. What do you call it? The 1 seat that NFP is holding in the provincial legislature of KZN.
Yes.
That's why it's on a string. In Gauteng, it's a different ball game. They didn't play the game. But you see, Panyaza behaves like, although he's not childish like Trump, but he behaves like Trump. He's very decisive with his team. The whole PEC of the ANC in Gauteng has been decisive that the Democratic Alliance is not going to hold us hostage.
Ah, yes.
And they moved with that. I think this thing of trying to punish or restructure or reconfigure or whatever word they are using, they don't even use difficult words. Somebody tweeted and joked and said, everybody in KZN is teaching with a dictionary. In the meeting, they agreed to restructure. Only when they got home, they're like, but what is restructuring?
And in fact, I was going to say, what do you even feel this restructuring would look like?
Look, they've already explained in
Yes.
their report back. They said, and Fikile said he has been given a week to can identify names, Mr. Mbalula.
Sure.
We can identify names. So I think they've decided to, from what they were saying, to keep some of the current leaders of these provinces and to bring some of the people from the NEC.
Okay.
Yes, not to disband the entire. So that is the reconstruction, reconfigure that they are talking about. They've decided they're going to bolster the 2 provinces with members from the NEC to go and work with the provinces. The same NEC members that have failed to bolster the organization on national elections. What if they failed nationally, what makes you think that they will do better at the provincial level? I don't think it's a good move.
Do you think they're there to bolster or to babysit?
Well, first, how do you
And to
babysit?
keep you in line?
Which line? Did they depart from the organizational line? KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. Did they depart from the organizational line? No, they did not. Gauteng may have departed from the GNU line. And they've had meetings before. They've explained themselves why, because the DA was holding them ransom. You understand? But they did not depart from the organization line. These people are mandated by the branches. Actually, when the ANC last week, we spoke about the 113 years birthday celebration, the 8th January, one of the things that President Ramaphosa said was that the branches, actually the people were lamenting locally in the Western Cape to say the branches of the ANC are dead. That's why the organization is not being felt by people on the ground. The ANC should have focused more on bolstering their branches to regain the confidence of their members. You understand? Not those they lost, the remaining ones first. Tell them we are still, on the right track of Oliver Tambo and all the other old late people. That's one element. But there's another element that developed this week, to your question. Some bird is singing in my ear. You remember late last year I said to you, or did I say it here on another platform? I can't remember, that I'm being told that Panyaza is moving to the national government as a deputy minister or something like that. This week, with the developments in the presidency, there's talks that he may be moving there. Look, these are still, unfounded rumors.
Okay.
But I think Panyaza has rattled the DA too much and the ANC in protection, the National Office of... And Panyaza is a member of the NEC, by the way, in order to manage Gauteng. These reckless young boys in Gauteng, they are going to divide them into half and keep the calm ones. One of the things that came out of the NEC meeting report was that even the Gauteng PEC was divided in the voting. I'm told the Ramo Coppers, because they've got 2 Ramo Coppers in Gauteng, they were saying disband this thing. They are members of the provincial leadership, but disband this thing and bring new people. I think they will go that route. They will bring, let's say, half of the people from the NEC, and they will keep half. But they are going to keep the so-called level-headed. And I put it in inverted commas, so-called level-headed. Removing Panyaza Lusufi from Gauteng to a demotion or a normal position, it may impact on them very badly. He was one of the few people that supporters of the ANC in Gauteng are still looking up to. Look, I'm not ANC, but I've told you before, Chike Ngiza, the provincial secretary of the ANC, is one of my favorite politicians. You know, he's one of the guys that I think he has kept the ANC in Gauteng glued together. He's running that office properly. You are already rattled by MK and the opposition and the people punishing you. Now you want to rattle yourself with the remaining ones. Fix the remaining thing instead of disbanding it.
This is my question. I don't know if anyone has asked this question. So hypothetically, if the structures in KZN and Gauteng were how you are now going to make them, how would they have handled leading towards this past election that they performed badly in? What would they have done differently?
Nothing. My answer is nothing.
Because for me, that is the nub of the issue. What did we do wrong that you would have done differently
if it was
that you want to
people?
Restructure us?
I personally think nothing. I think it could have been anybody else in that position. The voters would have still punished the ANC the way they did. I actually even think if it wasn't this current structure of Lusufi and Maile and others who still have a little bit of respect and support from the townships, I think it would have been worse if they would have. You remember, I always call it, if they would have Didiza them. You remember the Toko Didiza saga when President Zuma was imposing Toko Didiza to the Tshwane resident. The ANC members in Tshwane punished the ANC because they could not relate to Toko Didiza.
Because she was parachuted in.
Yes, parachuted in. And I think the ANC must be very careful of not finding themselves in that situation. The local government elections are managed by the provincial government. The provincial leadership normally manages that, the branches and all of, because the branches of the political parties are not that strong and they don't have strong candidates. They don't invest on local government a lot. They are being babysitted by the provincial leadership. Look at almost all political parties. The provincial leadership oversee the local ones, and they are messing up. They're messing up at a very wrong time. They must just know ANC has been a populist organization by numbers, who is loved by who, who's followed by who. Look at how Dedo Morero, the mayor of Johannesburg, and how he was the chairperson of the ANC for a long time in the Johannesburg region, but he was kept out of the mayoral position. That there was a compromise that it must be given to the smaller parties, because he was not the most popular amongst his own comrades. He's not the most popular, you understand? And if they want to depart from the popular politics, they must be prepared to suffer the consequences, because people will punish them further.
Absolutely.
Let's wait. Mr. Mbalula said he's got this week, you can come with names, and President Ramaphosa is going to come back in the week where he's going to come back from Davos in Switzerland, and when he comes back, he'll present to the president, and the top 7 will make the final decision.
But they've also said, though, that whatever structuring or restructuring happens will not affect the comrades who are already in government.
Yes, that was the careful part they said. And who are already in government, actually, I mean, people they have deployed and people who are like in the MMCs and all that. So they'll probably, let me use Leboham Maile as an example. He's an MEC of Economic Development. So my understanding of that statement is they will keep them in those positions. But in the structures of the organization,
they might change.
And I think that helps them. That was a clever move, actually. Don't rattle and don't disturb, and also they must take care of people's life fresh. Me and you, we've been unemployed for over 2 years. We know how is it for your salary to be taken away from you. I don't think they want to disturb that. And remember, they also have limited elected positions now due to the drop in the vote,
Oh, yes.
as well as the GNU. So they've got, it's not like in the past where they were in charge, they can move people around as they wish.
There's less opportunities to give everyone a chance
Exactly,
now.
exactly. So they also don't want to disturb the livelihood
Sure.
of the people. You see, this is the only time I wish I'd belonged to the ANC. I would have not lost my job because they would have cared for my livelihood.
Or you'd be an ambassador somewhere again.
But that I said they must wait. I had an opportunity. I told you during President Zuma, no, I wanted to be home. I wanted a break.
Sure. Speaking of disturbing, the Judicial Conduct Tribunal hearing for the Eastern Cape Judge President MBENENGE is on.
Yes.
And
I must scratch my head to get going.
So for people waking up from a coma, what is the gist of what's happening at this Judicial Conduct Tribunal?
Look, my full understanding, if I look at this from a political and a legal point of view, than the gender, based violence or workplace violence, it's what they call, actually it's not even in inverted commas, it's the sexual advances of the judge president towards the secretary of the court.
Mengo.
The high court.
Yes, Miss Mengo.
What is that name?
Mengo. Yes.
Now, I don't know if people understand how the courts are structured. In every province, there's a judge president.
Sure.
Like Dr. Klopo was the judge president of the Western Cape. So there's a Judge Mlambo is the judge president of Gauteng.
Sure.
So the judge president is actually the chief judge. All other judges in that province, they report to the judge president.
Okay.
Whether it's the labor court, whether it's the human rights court, or whether civil courts and criminal courts, the judges of the province report to the judge president. So the judge president, if for lack of a better word, is more like a premier of the judicial process. Now, in courts, you've got court secretaries, these ladies that you see type and issue notes and all that. What is interesting with this is where the legal process comes in. The secretaries of the court is not the secretary of the judge. He or she serves other judges as well, not just the judge president. The judge president will have their assistant in the office and so forth. Now, the story is years back. There's another problem. Years, Fresh. It's been years that the judge president MBENENGE had committed sexual advances towards one of the secretaries, Miss Mango, and now she had complained that the judge president had conducted himself in an unbecoming manner.
Sure. She
feel harassed, she feel humiliated and abused and so forth. So that's the nutshell.
But we can argue, though, that given his position in society and within the judiciary, he shouldn't have opened the door at all.
Absolutely not. That part only, it's not only even in the society, in the work environment. You are the most senior person in the office and you go to one of the most junior, because being a court secretary is very junior. Between the judge president and the secretary of the high court, there are judges, deputy, acting judges, there's lawyers, there's advocates, there's registrars, and all other people.
Maybe role-playing with another judge won't be as nice as role-playing with the secretary.
The fact that you remember what the labor law prescribes, it's clear. The labor law is helping us in this instance.
Sure.
And because, why labor law? Because it's in a work environment.
Absolutely.
The case is not at the labor court. It's still within the commission. However, the labor law has made provision for the country to use senior subordinate. That already, you have already crossed the line.
There's a power dynamic there already.
There's power dynamics involved, yes. That is the problem. But now, having followed and listened to the case, and the only reason I must tell you, I was not interested in the case because for me, there's an element of ethics.
Until you heard about a warm stove.
No, man, Fresh. Until I realized that one of my favorite legal minds in South Africa, senior counsel advocate Sikakani, is part of the case, and in the defense of is part of the leading defense advocate. And I'm like, for the love of Sikakani, I'm reading his book. I said it last week.
Sure.
But now the people are already talking about gender-based violence, and I need to correct that. First, gender-based violence does not mean female-based violence. It means gender, because men get abused all the time in this country. The second part is what do I regard this case? I regard this case as an improper conduct of the judge president at the workplace.
Sure.
So it borders along the labor relations matters. But then people want to bring the fact that their argument, and this is where law becomes interesting, their solid base of argument that they have is that there was consensus.
Sure.
Based on the SMSs and WhatsApps and the responses that Ms. Nango had, committed.
Hey, because I think the line in the sand is between those who say she consented,
Yes.
or say, why did she play along?
Why she play along,
And
yes.
those who are saying, if you understood power dynamics,
yes.
you'd understand why someone might be afraid to say, no, leave me alone, or no, what you're doing is inappropriate.
Yes, yes.
And then others are saying, but if you thought it was inappropriate, why did you initiate some of the communication?
Conversations, yes.
And the other side of the argument, I'm going to say, when you are operating from a place of fear, you might do
play
that
along.
because you don't want to upset the person.
Yes, yes. Look, that's a very complex one, Fresh. There's a way you can play along in order to avoid the person. And I don't say people must think the way I'm thinking.
Sure.
I'm simply saying...
So you can play along
you
without...
can play along without committing.
Without implicating yourself.
Implicating yourself. You
Yes.
can play along.
Or just send a
Understand?
smiley face.
Yeah.
Just send a smiley
and
face.
To go and start responding and talk about what are your sexual preferences and all that. There's also a critical point that Advocate Kakani brought in. The part where, and there I thought that was the collapse of the case, where Advocate Kakani was saying to the lady, when you responded to this message of the JP, the judge president, at 4 a.m., and the judge president had asked a direct question, am I wrong in asking for this? And the lady responded to say, no, you are not wrong. He said, not at all. Actually, that was the response. Not at all. You see, that's actually playing along. When you play along, but you don't want to implicate yourself, you can say, I have no comment.
You are non-committal.
Yes.
You're non-committal.
You're not committal.
Or you just send a lol.
Exactly.
You send a smile.
Yeah.
Or you just say Batung Judge,
Yeah. Ustotu.
and leave it there.
Exactly, Fresh. But again, when you are in that situation, I've never been in that situation, we wouldn't know. But there's a series of them. Another thing now, that is where it's becoming technical and legal. The third element of this, I've spoken about the first element, which the judge, by just doing that from the initiating that from the very beginning, sending photos of your genitals.
It was a no-no from the get-go.
That was a no-no from
and
the beginning.
And we all agree on
And we
that.
all agree on that.
Yes.
But now there's the part where in applying or in reporting this matter to the commission and complaining, you withhold,
You omit.
to include your conversations to the judge.
Yeah.
So you are not playing a fair game in front of the law. Omission or withholding information of primary importance that may assist the process. You understand? You must assist the process. You come to me to try, and you give me half-baked information. You don't tell me, what did you do? You're not helping the process. I think...
And if anything, some might even argue that you gave evidence maliciously.
Maliciously, yes.
Because your intention was to paint the accused in a certain way and make yourself a schoon pampir.
No, but she said that. I'm going to ask the question.
Yes.
Was your intention to expose and paint the judge president as a bad person, as a malicious person? She said yes. She did say yes.
But that's what I'm saying.
Intention.
That there must be a charge of sorts, or I don't know, what is it? Defending the ends of justice.
Yes, yes.
Because if you are a witness in your own issue,
Yes.
we expect you to be to disclose fully.
Declare the information, put the information.
Declare everything, because if you are withholding information in your own case, surely you're defeating the ends of justice.
Exactly. And I don't know why
Or
did
you're
they
being
do
malicious.
That. I don't know why did they do that. Did they think in his defense the judge president will not bring the communiques from her? You understand? I don't know why did they want to withhold the information.
There's another angle. Many are saying she's been sent. What are your thoughts on that?
Most probably, especially, let me tell you why. I'll give you 3 reasons.
Yeah.
One, the time frame that has passed.
Sure.
When this thing started. It's years, Fresh. It's been years now.
Yeah, but maybe she was scared at the time because she knew that if I take this public, then my laundry and my genitals are in the public.
So you are scared that time and you are not scared now. That's fine. The second part.
Maybe you became emboldened, or maybe someone said, we will stand by your side.
But
So for me,
I'm supporting that. I'm supporting what you are saying.
I will never hold it against a person for coming out much later. I will never do that because the human mind is a human mind. Your bravery today might be different to what you felt 5 years ago.
You have support today that you didn't have 5 years ago.
But there is still an argument that she was sent.
By the way, I will sit and say those who sent her. You mean at the beginning or now to act now? Yes, I think now because
for all we know, maybe even from the beginning, we don't know.
We wouldn't know.
Yes.
But there's another part that happened in this commission or the inquiry, where I thought, being a human being, being a man attracted to women, I thought there was an element of jealousy as well, because there's a part where she declared that actually she saw the judge president having a kind of intimate hug or improper hug. When you embrace, and Fresh will get into trouble with that because you always hug everybody around you. With the registrar at some stage. And she said she went back and peeped and saw that they were hiking very close and for a long. And she closed the door because they left the door half open. And when asked, why did you close the door? You know what was her response? I wanted them to see that somebody saw them. That's her response. Now, why do you want them to know that you saw them? Understand? So it also bothers when you listen to her responses that this thing happened for a long time, over months, that they were exchanging this, very explicit texts and pictures and all that. And now suddenly another lady in the office seemingly is having the same relationship with the judge president. Naturally, as a human being, you may become jealous that, but
you're not interested. Why are you jealous?
Yeah, first, it's a human mind. We wouldn't know what happened. But the long and the short from my side in the judge president case is it's unfortunate that a person of his caliber, stature in the community, the person who's supposed to uphold the law, the person who's supposed to sit and preside over rape and sexual abuses cases, especially sexual abuse at the workplace. And for me, I come from that angle. He should have not even started that.
Sure.
And I don't see the judge president escaping this one based on what I've just said.
So even if, for instance, it can be proven that it was consensual.
Yes.
He's still going to leave this thing dirty as hell.
That's what I'm saying. There is, first of all, I don't think there is consensus because, as you said earlier, at times when you respond to a question or a situation, it depends on the situation and the mindset you are on at that particular time.
Sure.
So it cannot be always concluded as consensus, because when you say consensus, you can stand up and say, I want you to, JP, when are we doing this? I'm ready. You see, that is consensus. But merely saying...
No, what I'm saying is if the hearing finds in his favor, because he was saying we are two adults that knew what we were doing.
Yes.
Even if they find in his favor, he's still leaving this thing dirty. He's still leaving this thing as a dirty old man.
The code of conduct of the Judicial Service Commission is going to hit at him.
Exactly.
That was, and I've said at the beginning of our conversation on this matter, the hierarchy as well. Subordinate vis-a-vis the superior official.
Let's argue this. He says to her, I like you. And then she says, no. And then they leave it.
Yes.
Would it have been clean and it's done?
It would have been clean. She said no and stop. And I like you. I like people at work. I have favorite officials. Understand? There's nothing wrong with that. It can be argued. What is I like you? Is that a sexual advance? Is that intimacy? No. In my books, no. But the way it went, it became explicit. It went, to parental. PG was 18.
The reason I'm asking this is because a lot of workplaces literally have policies regarding how you relate in the workplace, including dating.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's Google, for instance. Google have an ask once policy. If I like someone, I can only ask them once. Can we go for coffee?
Yeah.
If he or she says no,
you must stop.
It's done. It's done. Anything beyond that, you are harassing that person.
Yeah, absolutely. But let me tell you, in this instance, before even the policy, remember the policy comes in when there's already a problem.
Yes.
The policy is prepared in case something comes up.
Yes.
In this instance, it's going to be based on the fundamental principle of subordinate and senior workplace relationship, which is enshrined very well in the labor laws of the country. It's going to be based, and the code of conduct of the justice-based people like judges. There's a code that's very clear on how they should conduct themselves. Remember, judges are not, in inverted commas, normal people. They cannot conduct themselves in a manner that me and you, we can.
Are held to a different standard.
Now, it's fine, but look at, for example,
As
the Judge
should.
Motata case. We have had that case. We are now sitting with the case of a judge who was involved in the Prasa situation, the issue. There was another, then we have Judge Stopper's case and so on. So they are being treated when you sign up for that, and I'm not saying it's right. I always say to me, I'm not saying I agree with it or it's right. I'm saying it is the law and the practice and a code of conduct you have signed up for.
Yes.
And therefore you are bound by that code of conduct. But again, let me talk as a human being. And I've been an employee of the state for many years. This thing of people in power positions, you doing sexual advances and abusing of junior people, it is actually wrong and it must be condemned. By any means, it has to be condemned. How they respond, maybe they were desperate, maybe they wanted promotion, maybe they wanted increase, or they were fearing for their jobs and all that. It's another matter totally different that the courts must be dealt with. I think if they go to a push, this thing may end up in a labor court or even in a criminal court.
Yeah.
Understand? And again, I think, what is he defending? I think it's all about the pensions and the benefits, not to lose them, not to be struck. I think the battle is about that. The damage on social life and family life, it's already done, and it cannot be reversed.
Sure.
You are a family man, you've got a wife, and you've got kids, and now it came out that it is not only her, there may be others. The damage is done. I think the battle now is just to make sure that he's not being stripped of all the benefits.
The likelihood that she was sent, is it there or not?
At the moment, I think now, not then. I think now somebody jumps at it and said, hey, you once talked about this matter or complaint or this happened, it's time to strike.
Sure.
And it's power dynamics again. It's this man must go, somebody may want the position.
Sure.
Some people, some of his colleagues, it may be political as well. We know that in the past there were utterances and what you call it, and allegations that he was an anti-Zuma person and he was tribalistic. I mean, those things have come up. I'm talking about the judge president.
Yes.
It may be a political ploy. It may be colleagues wanting that position and they're taking advantage of this lady. And I think that's the politics part of it. Somebody said at the moment, this is the time to strike. You'll be protected. The state will be on your side. You will win this case. Look, I don't think she will lose anything by coming up. Even if people can say, but you played along, lady. You talked about, and I don't know what is the parental guidance on your show when people were talking about half insertions, they have baked bread, and a woman must be warmed and
like an oven.
Like an oven. I mean, that was explicit.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, but it's two adults speaking, so.
Yeah, two adults speaking. And for that, people may look and say, but lady, you were concerned, why are you complaining now? I'm complaining because she took advantage of her position.
Sure.
And that's her story.
Absolutely.
Whether we agree or not, but I said to myself, I'm happy I'm not judge the JP of the Eastern Cape. It's bad, fresh. You think of now the family. He's got kids in their 30s. You understand? And the damages, and he's an elderly person in church. But somebody said something to me. Even pastors are human beings, but even pastors are human. They are bound to do normal human mistakes. But people must be disciplined, know where to draw the line. That's it. Know where to draw the line. I've got a rule. I don't have relationships at my workplace. I've had that rule since I started working. Not at the workplace. And I draw the line there.
Sure. We need to wrap it up with
what do we still have?
the minister in the presidency, Kumbuzo, smoke at the Zamazamas and persecute them in NTSHAVHENI. Why is she in the news? Why are the DA saying that she needs to step down?
the DA, let me start by saying this, and not in defense of NTSHAVHENI. By the way, she happens to be one of my favorite ministers. Now I'm disappointed. The DA must remember that they are the government. They are not in a power sharing. They are the GA, the ANC, and they are the government.
Sure.
So if you start saying to...
Are you saying that they don't know that place still?
Yeah, they don't know. They think they're the official opposition of this country is is a party, then the EFF and the others who didn't join the government.
Don't you think the DA are pandering to the electorate because it's important for them to remind the electorate that we might be sleeping with this Baba, but we're here for groceries. We're here for food. We need food in the fridge.
Look, also, Fresh, maybe they are also saying the GNU is cleaning up.
Sure.
Understand? Why are they bringing these things now? That happened when she was the municipal manager. Do you want to tell me that they don't know about this thing? I don't say they must not bring it on.
Maybe.
In Setswana, they say, in Afrikaans, the land around from the government, they'll catch you.
But the criminal investigation is only now. So that's why they're only bringing it up now.
Well, if the ANC is honest and President Ramaphosa and they are fair, either the lady must step aside like Zizi Koda did in terms of their policy of step aside when there's criminal charges. But the NPA hasn't pronounced on that, remember? The NPA has the file from the police. But you know what I looked at? And this is the truth that the country will not like, but I will say it. You know there's AfriForum, which is the right-wing arm of the DA. It's a tripartite. It's AfriForum, the DA, and then there's Daily Maverick, the newspaper. You must see how Daily Maverick, no matter how good investigative journalism are, Fresh, let me tell you, I've been a writer and a reader for many years. I've been in investigations. I've been in, undercover work of government. The Daily Maverick, people who write those articles and give them to those journalists are in the police service or in the MPA. It is so articulated, so well articulated. The dates, the times, the frame, and look at the time.
Maybe it's just good old-fashioned journalism.
No.
Are you saying there's a proper mole in there?
There's a definite mole who's giving them the scope to go out with it. And I'll tell you, you must see how the Daily Maverick reports and they end up one day taking NTSHAVHENI's case. Should the NPA decide they're prosecuting Minister NTSHAVHENI, go and take the file and look at the newspaper articles. It's a true copy of the original. They talk that even the structure of the charges will be the same. I've done it before. I've compared the Daily Maverick articles with the charges, and they are all the same. I don't say they're doing wrong. If they've got the mole and sources within government who are selectively exposing black corrupt political office bearers, and I'm putting it like that clear. They've never done it with the DA ministers or mayors or councillors. They've never done it that way.
Maybe there's nothing to report there.
Where? Go to the Western Cape. How many times there's so many cases of the DA being corrupt. Right now, the mayor of the city of Tshwane, the executive mayor, Dr. Nasib, is talking about how the previous administration was corrupt. Who's the previous administration? It was the DA. Why is the Daily Maverick and the Sunday World and all other these mainstream media not covering the same stories in the same manner, the same drive, like when it's black people? Do I defend black people? Yes, I do, and unashamedly so. And it's that challenge we are sitting with, that Minister NTSHAVHENI has been in the president of, now sadly the president moved intelligence and every important person to his office, and now falling out one by one now. You know what I thought? It may be her own comrades. Like Zizi Koda. Remember what Zizi Koda said? He said that the people who was behind his downfall and charged, it was his own comrades. He never mentioned who.
Sure.
And I think with NTSHAVHENI, it may be her own comrades.
Sure.
The power dynamics and the battle between ANC leaders of the RET and the Ramaphosa and the Zuma people, it's starting to show up now. You remember what I said last week? Jacob Zuma people are still well-vested interest in the NEC of the ANC. And they're starting to hit at each other. These things are politics playing now, you understand? You are judge president in the Eastern Cape. You have said, there's a rumor or allegation that you didn't like Zuma and you were very tribalistic. Suddenly, boom, somebody's over your case. You understand? And now it's a Minister NTSHAVHENI that we know that she was the head of campaigns for CR17 and CR whatever year, the other year after. She's been in the forefront of, she's the right-hand person of President Ramaphosa. But let me tell you, if she survived this one, after having have seen the allegations, and I call them allegations, if she survives this one, I will know that President Ramaphosa is really exercising
In fact,
his arm.
to quote an article in your favorite Daily Maverick, the minister is in charge of state security will have to step down after News 24 revealed that NTSHAVHENI is being investigated for what a judge called a repugnant and devastating tender awarded during her tenure as a municipal manager at Botsang municipality, her job being elevated to the powerful role of minister in the presidency.
Exactly. So President Ramaphosa, if he wants to protect President Shamila, this is where politics play now.
Yeah.
You just tell Shamila but to ignore that thing. Understand? That's what politicians do. It's now up to Shamila Batoi
Sure.
to decide whether the minister should be charged or not. And that's where we are. We'll know in the next week when President Ramaphosa comes back from Davos. He is faced with a mammoth task to decide on the future of many people.
Do you think he's hoping they'll extend Davos there? And some guys, we need another week of Davos.
Can we go somewhere? Can we go? And he went there in Davos to talk about corruption, maladministration, that Africa is not as corrupt as we are dealing with corruption. Hey, you must come back and deal with it now, and still deal with the tiger that escaped from the zoo.
Would it send a strong message if he made a decision from Davos that she must have done?
No, I don't think it will be diplomatically correct to do that.
Yeah.
Unless he talks to her on the sides, not to pronounce on it public that I'm instructing to do so. No. Look, we've got the acting president in the country who can do that. But I think his silence and wait for me to come back. But it also gives Minister NTSHAVHENI an opportunity to decide whether she wants to do a Zizi Kodwa thing or a Mapisa Nakula thing.
Sure. Do it of her own accord.
Yeah, I'm doing it on the honor. I'll leave this whole thing.
Sure. We are out of time, Mr. B.
Yes.
Great discussion as always.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, thanks a lot.
Where do we find you online, brother man?
botsangm@gmail.com, and on WhatsApp it's 0824859100, and social media handles is @botsangm.
And we are done. Another episode of #PoliTricks on Wow, What a Week. Thanks for subscribing, for sharing the links, for liking, and for being a part of the PoliTricks episode every Saturday morning at 8. We are part of the African Podcast Network. You can email us at waw@africapodcastnetwork.com, coming to you from AMPT Studios, downtown Johannesburg. Shout out to Trevor and the team at Pezulu Works for all of the cinematography, and to artist The Flo Fraser for all of the imaging. Our executive producer, Keletso Modisakeng, and to you, thank you, as always, for making this an incredible episode. Till next week. Have a wow week, in spite of yourselves.